So now we're ready to cover the holes on the shaft end of the motor and the holes around the edge of the outside barrel of the motor. We use one long piece of silicone tape. Now, we're going to place the edge of the tape on the end of the motor right up to the bearing, and this is the bearing housing right here. We're going to place the tape right up to the edge of that. Holding the motor in one hand, we're going to bend the tape over the outside of the can like that. You can see it going across now like that. Okay. So once that's down, I'm going to use my thumb to hold it in place as I slightly pull the tape around the outside and the end of the can, keeping it pushed down the whole time. As I pull it, the tape will curl around the front of the motor, and I'm going to make sure it stays there. Like that. And I'm going to pull it some more, keeping it tight up against the bearing housing, and work it around the can. Once you complete one revolution, you'll have a little left over, as you can see. Don't overlap it very much at all. Overlap it just a little by pulling on it and overlapping it a tiny bit, because once you do overlap it, it's stuck for good. It's very, very difficult to undo. It's possible, but you will end up destroying the tape and it won't be very usable. Okay? So you'll have this completed end, just like that. Okay? So at that time, you take your scissors and cut it off. And push down push the silicone tape down onto the motor, constantly working it. It doesn't have to lie perfectly flat once it's overlapped each other, but once it's overlapped each other, remember, it's stuck pretty good and be very difficult to get it off. So that's what it looks like. Now, do not start your second pass where you started your first pass. Start your second pass on the opposite side. So making the second pass, we'll take the other piece of silicone tape. Now you've got 6 pieces of the silicone tape that you've in your little package here, 2 for each motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the other opposite side I ended at. I ended on this side. Now I'm going to start on the opposite side, and I'm going to position my tape so that the end of it overlaps the end of the cap just a little. Just a little. Okay? This tape is very thick, and if you overlap it, it becomes twice as thick and it's kind of bulky. Okay? So overlap it just a little, because you just want a little bit to overlap the end cap silicone tape. And then in the same way, capture it with your thumb and draw it as you draw it around with that little piece that's overlapping. The little piece will curl onto the end of the end plate. So as you draw it around, it's overlapping the end plate and it's overlapping the first pass of silicone tape that you made. Continue pulling it until you reach the beginning of the tape. And once you've completed that, and push it down, keep working it like this. You just keep pushing it down and working it. If you want to overlap it, maybe, a little bit more than I did, that's a little bit better. No need to overlap it too much. And then I continue to work the end of it over onto the end cap. And as you do, it becomes a little bit more sealed. Okay. So there you go. Make sure it turns like this. And now this motor is sealed up. And all of the different ways we used to do this in the past has been simplified to this simple process now. So that completes one motor.